Hey, y'all doing? This Preacher Man R&B, and this is another movie reviews. This time I'm reviewing Fast and Furious 6. Now, what happens on this movie? It starts off with Dom and Brian racing, and it cuts off from the end of the last movie, and they're racing to the hospital because Mia's about to have Jack, and she has Jack, and when Dom tells Brian when he walks through the doors, our whole life finished, and Brian walks through the door, and Jack is born. Well, after this, Hobbs shows up and tells Dom that lady's still alive, and she's running with this guy named Owen Shaw. And Hobbs asked Dom for his team's help, but Dom tells him the only way he's doing it is if he goes in alone. And Hobbs says that's not possible because these guys are so good. Hobbs needs Dom's team. So Dom calls up the team, and we meet Roman, and he's out on a jet about to go to his yacht with these females that he's with, these women, and we meet Tez, and he's in some Spanish country. It don't really say, but he breaks into an ATM machine and lets loose a whole bunch of money for these people. And then we meet Han and Giselle, and I'm guessing they're still in Madrid, and they formed a team again. And what's happening? Owen Shaw's finding all these pieces. That way he can sell them on the black market, and whoever has this thing, whenever it's put together, could take down a whole city. And Owen Shaw and them's trying to get all these pieces. Well, Dom and his team goes to London where Owen Shaw is, and him and Hobbs is got one of Owen Shaw's guys in custody, and they set up Owen Shaw, and this guy goes and identifies Owen Shaw. And Owen Shaw gives him a bag of money and tells him the rest of it's for the job, the next job. And the guy asked him what next job, and he said the one we're on now. So Owen Shaw drives off and blows up the building that they're in. And Dom and the rest of the team go after him. And Owen Shaw's driving through London, and Dom's behind him. Well, Brian and the rest of the team go after the embassy up in London because Shaw's team is stealing something there. And when they go through, Brian and them come in behind them, and they shoot this chip, this gun that shoots this chip to shut down cars. And Tez and Roman gets hit, and Brian does too, and it shuts down Tez and Roman's car, and they crash. And before it could shut down Brian's car, he hits a pole and hits the chip off of it, and he goes after him. Well, they're going after these Owen Shaw and them, and when they're going through there, they have these souped up cars where there's a ramp on these cars, and they're flipping police cars everywhere. And what's happening is they're flipping these police cars, trying to hit Dom and them, and it's not working. So they come to this crossroads, and Dom goes after Owen Shaw, and Brian goes after the rest of Shaw's team. And Brian's behind this girl, and they distract Brian and flips Brian's car over and get away. And with Owen Shaw, Dom goes after Owen Shaw, and he gets away too. Well, what happens after this? They get Giselle, Han, Roman, and the character Gina Carano's playing, and they go after this guy that made these souped up cars and trying to get information on Owen Shaw. But what they don't know is this guy calls Owen Shaw, and Owen Shaw gets his men to go after him, and he sends Letty and two other guys after him. And they shoot up the place, and Letty's sitting back, and she's not shooting until Gina Carano's character shoots at Letty, and she starts shooting, and then they get away. And Han and Roman go after this Japanese guy, and Giselle shoots the guy off the bike, and he dies. And then Letty runs off, and Gina Carano's character chases in after Letty. And they go to this mall, and Letty and Gina Carano's character is fighting, and Letty winds up getting away because she goes to a subway and gets on the subway and escapes. And then Han and Roman's fighting this other guy, and they get their butts handed to them. And this guy gets away after he beats up Han and them. Well, after this, Dom goes to a street racing scene and finds Letty up there. And I'm glad that they actually had a decent race in this movie. If y'all watched my last review, Fast Five, the only thing I didn't like about Fast Five is they didn't have no race. And I'm glad that they put a race in a Fast and Furious movie, because that's what Fast and Furious is originally about, is street racing. So Han and Letty race. Not Han, Dom and Letty race, my bad. And Dom winds up beating Letty, and he gives Letty the necklace that Letty has from Dom, and tells him how she got all them stars that she got, trying to get her to remember, because she has amnesia. That's why she didn't die in Fast and Furious. What happened is, Brada's second in command shoots the car and blows up the car, and she flies off and hits her head, and she got amnesia, and that's how Owen Shaw finds her. And we find this out after Letty leaves. Owen Shaw comes in and tells them that he found Letty in the hospital, and she didn't have no memory, so Owen Shaw used Letty as a part of his team. And that's why Letty doesn't remember Dom. So Owen Shaw gets away again, because one of Owen Shaw's men got a laser on Dom ready to shoot, and Hobbs does a laser on Owen Shaw, and Owen Shaw walks away. Well, what happens is, after this, we find out, because of the guy that was making the cars, he had Brada's number in his phone, and we find out that Owen Shaw and Brada was working together. So Brian has to go back to LA. He has to go into the prison where Brada is, and the guy who's from Fast and Furious, the FBI agent that didn't like Brian, sets this up that way to do it. But Brian got 48 hours before they find out who Brian really is, and he's stuck in prison for the rest of his life. So Brian goes in, and what happens is there's a crooked guard that shuts down all the cameras and lets the inmates out, and Brada goes and talks to Brian and tells Brian all what happened, and that Brada knew that Letty was an undercover agent as soon as Brian put her in, because he was new at being an FBI agent, and Brada said that she was dead as soon as she went in undercover. And we find out that it's Brian's fault that this happened, and he's blaming himself. Well, Brada gets his guys to attack Brian, and Brian beats up Brada and his guys and gets information on Shaw, and Brian gets out and goes back to London, where the rest of them are. And we find out that Owen Shaw's in Spain now, so the team has to go to Spain, fall in behind Owen Shaw. And what's happening, Owen Shaw's going after this tank, and they do this heist and get the tank out of the truck. Now Owen Shaw and his team's running rampant with this tank on this road, crashing into the cars and everything, and Dom and them has to stop them. So Dom, Brian, and Roman are falling in behind this tank trying to stop it. And Owen Shaw goes to the other side of the road and starts running over cars, and they got to try to stop him. So Roman follows in behind them and gets in front of them to distract them, and is about to shoot Roman with his tank, and Roman hits the brakes, and his truck, the Mustang's in front of the tank. So Roman takes a cable and wraps it around the cannon and jumps on Brian's car. Now the tank has the Mustang anchoring it behind it. And Brian and them push the Mustang over the bridge. That way it will be an anchor on the tank. And when this is happening, Owen Shaw tells Letty to go out and unhook the cable. Well, when this happens, the tank flips over, and Dom crashes into the side of the bridge and goes midair and catches Letty and lands on a car. Now, there's no way physically possible that this could happen in real life, but it was real cool seeing it on the movie, and there ain't no way in heck that this could happen. But anyway, after this, they bust Owen Shaw, and Owen Shaw's in custody. Well, he goes to Hobbs, and Hobbs starts talking to him, and Hobbs brings Owen Shaw to Dom. He tells him he has to hear this, and what happens is Owen Shaw got his people captured Mia. And what happens is Dom's girlfriend from the last movie, the cop, she takes Jack and gets away, but Mia's captured, and they have to let Owen Shaw loose. There's no way around it. He has, or if they don't let Owen Shaw loose, he would kill Mia. And they let him loose, and Owen Shaw and his guys is driving on this runway, and Tez blocks all calls. That way they can't get the call out to kill Mia, and Dom and his team go in behind them. And what happens is this big freighter plane comes in front of them, and Owen Shaw drives up in there, and Brian and Dom follow in behind them. And Brian and Dom's fighting Owen Shaw and his team and trying to get Mia out of there. And Brian gets Mia out of there, and they get on in the car and get out of the plane. Well, to stop this plane from taking off, they got to use these custom-made harpoon launchers that Tez made. And they shoot the plane and shoot it down, and it crashes, and Dom has to drive the car out of the plane before it blows up, and drives and wrecks and tumbles out. Well, while this is happening, Giselle and Hans fighting this guy, and Hans about to get killed, so Giselle lets go of Hans' hand and shoots this guy and kills him. But in doing this, she kills herself and she dies, and that's why she's not in Tokyo Drift. And after this, the team busts Shaw, and then they go home to LA because they've been pardoned, and then Han goes to Tokyo Drift. Now, I like this movie. It was a real good movie. What did y'all like about this movie? And the next movie I'm going to be reviewing is Tokyo Drift to continue the story. As always, Preacher Man R&B signing out. God's good, Jesus awesome. See y'all next time.